Welcome back to Bunters Yard, and today we are doing open heart surgery on our Smokey Joe Centenary year special edition limited run. Only made 2,500, so not really that limited in fact anyway. And we're going to be fitting a DCC chip. This is the Hornby 4-pin chip. Quite easy to fit, just a single function, makes it go backwards and forwards basically. And we need a couple of bits, some solder, so a bit of heat shrink if you've got it, a bit of tape if you haven't got heat shrink. Screwdriver and some wire cutters, and also got a soldering iron, which you'll see in a minute. So first thing you need to do is take this little baby apart. So there's a single screw at the front, not the one in the middle, that's something different. Just take the one off the front. And then it's just a matter of giving it a little pull really, and it'll come apart. Now the little springs that hold the motor in, you can see sort of halfway just there under my thumb, they just sort of splay out and they hold the body on a little bit. So we need to bear that in mind when taking it off and putting it back together again. And that's all there is to this one. There's not really a lot in it. It's literally just two wires and a couple of bits, a couple of components, which we'll deal with in a second. Now this is different to the one we've done before because this is a plastic chassis, so there's no problems about isolating things. We just need to work on those two wires that we can see. So the capacitors and their little resistor on the top. Now there's lots of school of thought on this. You go on the forums and the arguments rage whether you should leave them on or take them off. Some people take them off and say it's good. Some people leave them on and say, well, they should be there. Some people leave them on and say, well, if it doesn't affect it, I'll leave them on. I'm going to take them off because that's what I've done before and it works for me. Lots of the sort of suppression is just not necessary for using DCC. As far as I'm aware, I'm not a technical electronics expert, so that's kind of my understanding, and that's what I'm going to go with. So let's oink those off, the capacitors we get rid of. And we need to get rid of this resistor as well. I don't think we need this. Just tip that off. Get rid of that heat shrink. And there's our two wires. I'll just clean these off. So I'm going to tidy that up a little bit. I think we'll just bare those just ever so slightly. There's our bit of heat shrink. Now we'll pop one piece on each of these. Now if you don't know what heat shrink is, basically once we've made our join, our solder between that wire and then the other wire it's going to join up to, we pop the heat shrink across. And that will sort of keep it isolated so they don't touch each other or touch anything electronic and cause any issues. So here's our 4-pin decoder, and we don't need the little plug on the end, so we need to chop that off. So we're just going to snip that off. Or just hack it really, if you're me. And there there's our 4 wires, and I'll explain what they do in a moment. Now, if you buy one of these new from from Hornby or from whoever, you will get a little data sheet and it tells you what the connections do. But I will tell you, it's very, very straightforward. I absolutely promise you. So we're just going to sort of bare those just to make them a little bit easier to connect. And I'm just going to tin the ends of those. A couple of reasons for doing the tin the end is that it makes sure that you don't get any sort of stray strands of wire that can touch other things and short out, and it makes it easier to solder together because we've already got the solder on it. And just for now, just to keep this out of harm's way, I'm just going to put a piece of tape on this just to so it sort of reduces the amount of contact to do. They're quite hardy. I don't think unless you're walking around in nylon pajamas, you're not going to short it out. So it's just to make sure. And then we're going to tin the other connections. Just put a bit of solder on there ready. And also those two 2 wires. Now those wires, they come from the pickups, from the wheels. So one is for one side of the track and one for the other. And here we go with the DCC chip. So the grey one goes to one side of the motor, and the orange one, or pink, will go to the other side. I think it's orange. It's the lighter, whatever, red shade. Now the way that I remember these wires is the black and the grey are similar in shade, and the red and the orange are kind of similar warm colours. So that's how I know how they're paired. So the black one will go on to one side of the pickups, and then the red one will go on the other side. I hope that makes sense. So basically all you're doing is you're putting the red wire and the orange wire on one side of the circuit, and then the grey and the black on the other. And that's basically all we need to do. That's kind of it. So we put the heat shrink across to cover up that join, and then with something warm such as the end of your soldering iron, we're just going to warm that, and it will shrink and grip onto that connection, and apart from it gives it then a sort of physical barrier, so it doesn't touch anything metal like the side of the motor or any of the other components, and it will give it like a mechanical sort of connection as well, and it grips the wires to make it a little bit more hardy. And we'll do the same for the other side as well. Now, just while I'm doing this, just want to point out that, as I say, I'm not qualified in this at all. This is what I do, and I know it works. I'm not recommending that you do this, or you necessarily want to follow exactly what I do. I would suggest you maybe look at a few other, the forums, or maybe a couple other videos, and make your own decisions on, how you might want to do this. But this works for me, so that's all I can say, that it worked for me. So we're going to use this sort of insulating tube. You get this with lots of locos that are DCC ready. Is to put the chip over basically. So it's quite big for this bit, so we're just going to size that down a little bit, cut a little bit off the edge, and clip that on top there, and then we'll just trim that tape. Don't need too much of that tape on there. You don't need to use tape. You could use sort of black tack or whatever you choose if you want. The main thing is that the chip isn't in contact with anything metal, and you don't need to do it up too tight, because it needs to get some sort of air, so there needs to be some circulation of airflow around the chip. Then we're ready to put the lid back on, and it's just a matter of lining everything up. And I always have problems with these con rods falling out on the Smokey Joe type little pugs. So you need to get them in place, make sure they don't fall out. There it goes again. And then just push it into place, and those clips, your little springy clips that hold the engine in place, you'll see they pop through and they grip it well. And that pops out. I'll glue that back in place in a second. And then finally we'll do the screw. Now you might want to test this out before you put the lid back on, the body back on. You may want to put it on your track and make sure it works. This is quite straightforward, so I'm fairly confident that this is going to be okay. At the worst, it's one screw. So we'll give it a try. So here we are on the track. Now I prefer to program mine on a rolling road, so I'm just going to put those DCC Concepts rolling road thingies there, and then I've got the NCE power cab, and we're just going to program this. So we press number 1, and we'll wait, and you can, if you watch the wheels on the Smokey Joe, they'll pop around, you'll see it as it does something, as it detects. There we go, it just jogs along. So a short address, we're going to use number 34 because I used 33 yesterday. We use that address. We're not going to have a long address for this one, so we're just going to clear through that. We'll just ignore that. And then we'll go back into the normal running mode. And then number 34. And pop the speed up. And there we go. All running well. And let's just try it on the track. And then we're done. So that's kind of it. There is another part I'm going to be weathering this a bit later on today, and the video will be out shortly. So that's it. Thanks, and we'll see you again at Bunters Yard.